Hi, I'm Michael, and I am the creator and performer of A Night of Music. So what is A Night of Music? I like to tell people that it's a motivational piano show where I promote, educate, inspire, and entertain. In promoting, what I'll talk about are the studies that prove the benefits of learning and playing, specifically creating music on the piano and what it does to the brain. But I'll also educate on the various methods on how to learn music. Obviously, the number one recommendation that I would have is to find a piano teacher that's a good fit for you. I have a strong belief that piano teachers provide the best way to fully learn music, but specifically for kids, they can provide nourishment, feedback, positive feedback, but also kind of tailor the lessons so that the kids continue to learn and are inspired to continue to learn. But for those that don't have the time and resources, I'll also educate on how you can use today's software programs and applications to teach yourself how to play and learn music. And then for people that are very shy and don't have the time or resources at all, there are a lot of different resources online that you can go and kind of learn the basics of music, YouTube videos, pretty much how I kind of learned. But also you can go down to the library, check out books and stuff like that. So I'll educate on the different methods of learning music. Now will also educate on what I believe is the different modes of playing, in which obviously you got to learn music to understand the language of music, and I think it's very important. And then two is you got to practice and do your exercises if you really want to develop that neuro connectivity in the brain. And then I'll also talk about what I believe has been one of the most important factors in my life, which is creativity. And so you got learning music, practicing and exercises, and then also just taking time to create. Now, inspiring. What I want to do is tell my story of how I used to be a very shy, a very narrow-minded, a very anxious person, not very good in social situations, but because of learning music, because of playing music, and then also creating music, I've become a lot more social, a lot more positive, a lot more energetic. But as people can see and people have told me, I've become a lot more analytical, what I call the science mind, but also a lot more creative. So if you look at a lot of my content now, and it keeps getting more colorful, more complex, and a lot more, I would say, creative. And so I'm going to take my story and I want to inspire people that they can use music, use the piano, to develop and stimulate a lot of different areas of the brain that will hopefully empower their mind and give them a deeper analysis, more complex reasoning, but also inspire or at least develop that creative side. And then entertain. Like I said, I'll have my digital piano out there. I'll hook it up to the big screen TV, and I'll perform some popular classical pieces that everyone knows, and then I'll also perform my own piece, and depending on how I feel, I'll do some improvisation and really show the spontaneous creativity, hopefully if I'm not too nervous. But when I play the classical pieces and the familiar pieces, they're not the most complex pieces, but hopefully what the general public will be able to see is when I hook it up to the big screen TV, what I'm hoping they'll see is that with my left hand and my right hand working together, they'll see these symbols, or excuse me, these bars that drop down that should give an idea of what might be cascading in both my left and right hemispheres of the brain. So a little bit about me. Let's go back to entertainment. So also what I'd like to be able to do is to make this a fun event and be able to entice people to come out. If they're not too interested in learning music, be able to come out anyway. Because what I want to do is be able to provide various gift cards to restaurants, local entertainment businesses, maybe some wineries or some breweries. But also I'll be giving away 20 to 30 of my piano books, which I created It's an entirely different approach, but it will provide the introduction to the basics of learning music and then how it correlates to the piano. So depending on the funding of businesses, I'll be able to provide gift cards and fun things to do and incentives for people to come out, and then also for the lucky few, they'll get 20 of my piano books. And again, depending on the funding, what I'd really like to be able to do is provide kind of a grand prize or a grand raffle of a free digital piano. Now, when someone asks me what is the purpose of what I'm trying to do, what I like to say and what I truly believe in is really to inspire the general public to use the fun of music and the power of the piano to empower their science mind, but also to awaken their creative spirit. A little bit about me. Like I said, I used to be a very shy, very narrow-minded, closed-minded, not very bright person, and really developed kind of a shallow routine process to my life. And then because of music and learning music and really taking the time at least 20 minutes to 30 minutes a day and using my left hand in more complex manners and using music that inspired me, I've become a lot more positive, and I'll talk about why. I've become a lot more open-minded, what I call deeply analytical, and people say that I'm highly creative, as you can kind of maybe get an idea from my videos. And so deeply analytical and highly creative is what I like to relate to as the science mind and the creative spirit. The method, so I'll talk about what I believe in the theories of what happened to my cognitive processes and my self-esteem, but also just my creative ideas through learning, playing, and creating music on the piano with a focus on the development of the left hand. So there's a little picture of what I used to be when I played music once a month to give me a little bit of self-esteem, but then really what happened in the last couple years where I decided to dedicate a half hour of my time at night, kind of like working out, bodybuilder working out or someone into sports, taking a half hour a day to really learn music, develop my left hand, and to stimulate and new neural development, but also having the two hemispheres communicate a little more efficiently through what people call the corpus callosum. It's that band between the two hemispheres that allows the two hemispheres to communicate. Now, a lot of people don't like to spend a half hour a day, or maybe they assume they don't have a half hour a day to play music or learn music and play the piano. And so I'll talk about a method that I've used, which is doing my exercises and stuff that develops the neural connectivity and the touch sensitivity and muscle memory on the piano by watching YouTube videos and movies that capture my attention and makes it fun, but I still get the neural development. Now, there is a time that you need to spend learning music and where you need to be focused on that, but also the part of creativity and really closing out all the exterior stimuli and just diving into your imagination and improvising, and I'll talk about that as well. But the science mind and the creative spirit, like I said, over the course of a relatively short period of time, I would say 2 to 3 years, which considering my age is a short period of time, but what I call is the science mind. So a lot of people think, when I have discussions with people, even online, with scientists, philosophers, I've become a lot more deeply analytical. My thought processes have become extremely deep and complex. I'm able to see, why certain things happen. So the cause and effect of things. Science, math, and although I'm still not the best at it, but when it comes to like complex patterns and reasoning within a language, and math is a language, and you could say biology and stuff like that, adhere to the mathematics of nature, I guess. And then also order and structure. A lot of people that have a scientific mind are a lot more logical, a lot more rational, but maybe more on a deeper, complex level. And what I've been able to do is kind of assimilate more complex ideas and kind of break them down and simplify them. And then just, having a deeper awareness of how complex our systems are, whether it be our brains or whether it be just the ecosystems out there that makes planet Earth. You can see the beauty of it, and so I like to call that the part of the science mind that's been curious about that kind of stuff. Now, object programming, I don't know if that's actually a term, I kind of came up with it. And what that means is, I'll have an idea of what I want to do, and because of the complex reasoning, I'm able to break down the different processes to get there. And so even doing these videos, if you look at my YouTube videos, if you look at my website, I've had to learn all these processes of whether it's writing the music, using different programs, using animation and stuff like that. Requires your ability to have an idea and then be able to build to it. And I call that object programming. And ever since I started developing what I would say a lot more areas of my brain, I've realized that I'm able to come up with complex ideas, break them down, and then build to those to realize whatever end goal that I want, like these videos. Now, the creative spirit, some people say I had a slight imagination as beforehand, but ever since I developed my left hand in a creative manner and really didn't stick to the formalities of the timing or the modes, but spent some time each night just kind of exploring my imagination and letting my brain and go where it wants, but correlating that to left and right hand movements, I would say has really developed my creative side. And what I mean by creative side is obviously I've become a more imaginative. I come up with ideas all the time. A lot of people are like, I've never heard that said that way. I've never heard that poetry. I've never heard this. And so constantly coming up with new ideas in a frame structure has been a benefit, a huge benefit, I would say, in exploring and liberating my creative spirit. As you can see, my videos and my products, particularly my piano book, I've become a lot more colorful, a lot more abstract. So if you look at this layout, you can see that it's multi-dimensional, number one, but it's got a lot of colors, it's got a lot of abstract concepts to it. It's not just flat black and white. And I really didn't have that before, and stimulating areas that I think is responsible for the colorful, creative aspect has been a huge byproduct of learning and playing piano. Now, they say that people that are more creative are more open to change and therefore are malleable to adaptation to different processes and stuff like that. And if you can tie it with the high rationality of the science mind, you don't tend to get frustrated as much because you can adapt to the situation knowing that there's different ways of solving the problem or solving the issue. A lot of people believe that I've become a lot more musical, a lot more poetic in my music now. I may not show it directly on some of my improvisation online because I still get nervous in front of the camera. I'm working on that. But I believe when people start using piano and music in a way that I'm going to teach, that whether they create music or collaborate with people or converse with people or even converse with words with poetry, having that deep science mind and the understanding of words, but then tying it with the ability to use different phrases and stuff like that has immensely increased my musical improvisation creation and poetry. What I call tangential dot connection, and there's some studies that prove this happens to very creative people, is that you can connect the dots on different things that people may not be able to see if they're not able to generate hypothetical ideas. And so what I call tangential dot connection is being able to connect the dots on things that if you're in a kind of a closed box mind frame of mind, then you may not be able to make those connections. And I'll talk about what some ideas on that. And then out of the box vision, as you can see, I don't think I've seen anything like this on YouTube right now on how I'm presenting music in a colorful way. Now, the YouTube is very inundated with a lot of different videos on how to learn music, and there's some really good ones out there which I'll talk about. But when I talk about out of the box vision, I'm gonna, once this gets up and going, I'll be able to take different approaches on presenting the music. But I think everyone understands kind of the out of the box ability to look at things in different ways. Now, the method, what changed me from this very shy, narrow, closed-minded person into a lot more scientific, but deeply scientific and deeply analytical, but very creative and very abstract perception, and being able to go back and forth. There's a lot of studies out there that prove that what music does to the brain. I'll bring in some information or some studies from Stanford and some of these other universities, from doctors and people that hold PhDs and stuff like that. So I don't want to make it too boring, but I want to ensure people that although I'm not a doctor, I'm not a neurologist, in fact I wouldn't even consider myself a pianist or a musician, but more of a promoter of what music did to me and how people can use it to stimulate and personally grow. But theoretically, and this is something new, this is something that I've been kind of working on, and connecting those tangential dots that I don't think a lot of people have really put together. But because of so much information online, because of this new studies of neurogenesis and neuroplasticity and the MRIs and the, I forget what, there's another form of studying the brain and what's being activated while playing music. I've been able to collate to a lot of these studies and take tidbits here, and kind of come up with a theory of what happened to me when I started developing my left hand dexterity in a creative, spontaneous, but also a collaboration with my right hand. And what ambidexterity, what that ambidextrous movement might have contributed to both my analytical side, but also my creative side. And so I'll also talk about left-handedness and the people that are left-handed, depending on how long and how much time I have. Now, a reality check. Now, I know I'm not a concert pianist, and I don't really consider myself a natural musician, as I have a lot of respect for the people that do dedicate a lot of time, a lot of academic studies on music. And the concert pianists, the classical pianists, are some of the people that I just admire greatly for their ability to memorize the piece, but present that music in a way that's almost flawless, but very appreciative. And so I'm not even close to being in that realm, and I know that, and I want people to understand that I'm not a classical pianist and I'm not a concert pianist. For those that spend a lot of time playing music, I don't even consider myself a musician. What I'm hoping people will gather from my presentation and my approach is that, I can do this at home, you can do this at home, people can do this at home, and in the comfort of their home, use music and the piano to really develop many areas of the brain that will hopefully, give them a deeper analysis of the world, but also open up a creative spirit that I think we all have. We just have been conformed to this society that says we don't. The transformation, again, I'm not a concert pianist, I'm not a musician, but what I want to do is tell the story of how the process that I've used has really changed me and has transformed me in a relatively short period of time. Like I said, given my age and the time that I've actually spent or that I've spent in the last couple of years, has had a profound change in my perception and my creativity and my sociability and my self-esteem. So the event layout, again, this event is to promote, educate, inspire, and entertain. the digital presentation setup, I'll have my digital piano, I'll hook it up to my laptop and then project it on a large screen TV, and hopefully within the facility, the initial facilities are going to be large apartment complexes which have really nice seating. Hopefully we'll be able to bring in some wineries or some breweries and stuff like that to make it really fun, and then I'll give my presentation on the big screen. Hopefully it won't be too boring at first, or I won't get into the minutia that bores people, but give the tidbits and then the transformational story, and then be able to display, kind of like the Guitar Hero, the bars that come down, and I'll show a video of that, and how people can see what might be happening in my left brain and my right brain, and what happens when they happen together. Promote the benefits. Again, I'll summarize the various studies from doctors, neurologists, and universities. They're all out there. I'll list out the cognitive functioning, the social development, the lifelong benefits. There are so many studies that show that kids that learn music at a young age develop lifelong benefits that help them in a lot of different work environments. And most importantly, especially in my transformational story, that it's never too late to learn. And so people that think that our brains are fully developed at a certain age, or they just they can't see outside of themselves, of their current paradigm of existence, is that science has proven now that we can constantly create new neuro development, new neural firings, in a process called neuroplasticity, but also neurogenesis. And so what I want to do is inspire people that are of my age, maybe a little bit younger, maybe older, that sitting down and playing music, learning music, and then playing on a regular basis can actively stimulate the brain. There's a correlation between music playing and the prevention of Alzheimer's. Now I'm going to educate. Now I kind of went on these bullet points in a fast manner at the start of this video, but when I say educate, what I'll do is how to learn music. Now there's different methods of learning. You've got the teachers, which I consider are the most preferred way of learning music if you have the time and resources, because they provide such a dynamic molding method on and curriculum for whatever student. Hopefully it's a teacher like that can provide the student feedback, positive feedback, encouragement, but also adjust the curriculum so depending on how the student learns. And the most important factor is to continue to inspire the student to continue on. Now, if you don't have time or resources, or depending on your schedule, there are schools, not just traditional grade schools and high schools, but there are business schools that you can find out there that have group settings, or that you can drop your student off or child off, and they can learn from a different academic. And there's these business schools that have really qualified teachers, and I'll talk about that. And then people that don't have the time, they don't want to go anywhere, or are very shy, there's a lot of online programs that are very in-depth on the processes of learning music, almost in kind of like a virtual teacher mode. They provide feedback and schedules of attainment, and so I'll talk a little bit about that. And for me though, and for a lot of people that maybe they don't have the time, or they prefer to do some other stuff that occupies a lot more of their time, is you can learn on your own if you don't have the inclination to go anywhere, or you want to do this at home. There are resources, YouTube videos, my book, my videos will teach you the basics of learning music. But you can also go down to the library, check out books, piano books on just a whole myriad of processes of music. That didn't come out right. So whether it's just learning music or learning different styles, learning different collections. And then the modalities of playing. What I like to say is that there are three important processes or modalities of playing, and one is learning music, focusing your mind on on where the notes are, half note, quarter note, reading music, learning the symbols and stuff like that. So the learning of music is by far, of course, the first introductory way of developing your musicality. Two is exercises, and this is kind of an important factor which gets a lot of people turned off. They don't like to do the exercises, but I would say that these exercises has contributed greatly to what I would say the neurogenesis of many hemisphere or many areas of my brain that has allowed me to make this transformation. And so I know it's boring. I consider it boring. I get turned off by it, but I've created a process where I promote a process where you can do these exercises, and there's a lot of different exercises that you can learn online or develop your own. But as long as you're actively stimulating your hands and fingers and kind of developing the muscle memories, you can watch different movies and stuff like that, or YouTube videos, and have your attention away, whether it be Game of Thrones or, you know, our society is so engrossed on all these Netflix videos or movies. And I understand that, but you can develop the neurodevelopment still by just doing, you know, various exercises with your left and right hand, and you don't have to be particularly concentrating on your finger movements. Now I know a lot of people will, a lot of traditional pianists and teachers might frown upon that. I'm just saying that that's what's worked for me, and for people that you know, would rather sit there and watch, you know, Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad or whatever those you know, long series of captivating, you know, shows are. This is a way that you can still watch movies and still exercise and create that spatial reasoning and neurodevelopment, and you're still creating neural firings in both your left and right hemisphere, but also the connectivity between the corpus callosum. And then, so we got learning songs, exercising, and then improvising. I would say probably improvising, and like I said, getting out there and just using your imagination. Don't worry about timing, don't worry about the chord structures, but just get your left, specifically your left hand, really moving and expressing your creative thought genesis, abstract ideas, and imagination. Entertain. The performance on display, like I said, I'll be performing pieces projected on the big screen TV so people can get an idea of what might be happening. I'll be playing some light classical music by Beethoven, Mozart, and Bach. I've got my own composition called A Melody for Emily. And then what I call harmonic fractals. It's an improvisation, a C of C's in C major, and a minor reflection in A minor. And hopefully, if I'm in the right frame of mind, which might take a couple of times, is that I've been able to improvise almost endlessly, and I call it harmonic fractals, where you have an idea, and you just, which would be a chord structure, and you just go off on all these tangents. And because of music and because of playing various patterns, you're still creating patterns, but it expands out like a fractal. And so that's kind of where I came up with harmonic fractals improvisation. The giveaways, like I said, if depending on the funding of businesses, I think this is a great way to promote the event, a great way to get businesses connected to the residents of these large apartment complexes, but it provides me a way to entice people to come out and watch the event. Is 20 to 30 of my Piano with Michael books. Basic introduction to music can get anyone started, but hopefully it'll ignite people to get started on their journey. I have some bags and bumper stickers that people can buy or receive through a raffle. Depending on the funding, if I get enough businesses to support this, I'd love to be able to give a really nice digital keyboard away for free. And then restaurant gift cards, entertainment places, wine tasting. This will take some time, but maybe some resorts over at the beach or something like that. So this is kind of a long-term projection that I'd like to be able to do on a regular basis. All these different apartment complexes or huge congregations. They could be churches and other locations where a lot of people gather, but I don't have to spend too much time going out there chasing people to come out. But yeah. Now the key discussion points, I'm going to run through this rather quickly since it's kind of repetitive. Again, promote, educate, inspire, entertain. the studies, the data research theories, the neurostimulation, executive function of the brain, the corpus callosum, and the brain connectivity. I'll talk about the piano benefits, the ambidexterity theory. Because of the piano, you learn the entire spectrum of music. You can use your left hand and your right hand. You learn full songs. But again, tapping into what I believe is the theory, and I'll talk about left-handedness, is the neuroplasticity and neurogenesis, that if you're right-handed, you've got more of your left hemisphere of the brain developing your left hand in fine motor movement in a creative way, maybe stimulating more areas in my right hemisphere of the brain, which is in a generic and a broad approach is stimulating your creative side. The psychological benefits, I think this is very important, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to tap into this, is that, with music and with playing piano, and especially if you do it in the public, it builds your confidence, your mood enhancement. I've certainly realized that my elevation of mood has increased greatly with learning and playing music, especially on a regular basis. Social skills, I used to be a very shy person. People were like, well, I actually was called the simpleton by several people, but now having social skills, being able to sit there and continually generate ideas on certain conversational points allows me to freely talk and kind of ramble on that conversation. So that definitely helps with social skills. Personal growth and self-esteem. Now with music, and as you learn more music and you create a catalog of music, you can always look back and see what you've done, and so you can see a progression, and it should boost your self-esteem. It definitely has contributed greatly to my self-esteem, and studies have proven that people that play music and on a regular basis and kind of become more social, they are less prone to depression and anxiety. Again, I'm going to run through this real quick. Science mind, analytical, deeper, and more complex reasoning. Scientific curiosity, layered analysis of cause and effect. Like I said, seeing something, an abstract idea, and then be able to build to it. Now, if you look at my software program usage, music writing, I've done HTML programming. A lot of this, in fact, most of this, in fact, all of it was self-taught, or maybe some YouTube learning. So yeah, if you look at my videos, I've done all the video processing, I've done all the YouTube generation and the social media integration. But if you look at my shopping cart as well, there's a lot of logical processes that you have to use to upload your content in different manners, creating different fields and stuff like that. So that what I would say is a very scientific mind, the logical reasoning, the using of processes and a deep understanding of the process. Creative spirit, the artistic idea genesis, philosophical, poetic, conversational and writing improvisation, outside of the box thinking. Like I said, if you look at my booklet, it's entirely different. It's colorful, it's got butterflies. I take a different approach. With the proper funding and continuation of these events, I'll even be able to come up with different books and maybe collaborate with other people that have different genres or know different genres. My videos, obviously, you can see that they're layered. They're a lot more rich and complex than a lot of people that I've seen out there, or at least the videos. That didn't come until really developing areas of my cognition and brain that has given me ability to look more complexly and more abstractly. Key discussion points again, Mozart effect. If I have time, I'll talk about, is it real? Studies prove that it's not a beneficial effect. Other people say it is. It depends on how you correlate it. I certainly truly believe that I benefited from listening to Mozart's upbeat, not just Mozart, but Beethoven, Bach, and some of the other great classical musicians. Their music tends to be a lot more complex, a lot more abstract, but still within the confines patterns of music. So listening to their music has definitely elevated my energy level, but also has allowed me to also look outside of the box and become more creative. And then basic introduction to music, how it correlates to the piano. I'll do a quick layout of the piano, what it means, how it works, and then also show them that they can use my website to learn fully. But again, I would say the teachers are the most important, most highly recommended version or process of how people can really benefit from learning and playing music. So thank you for watching this video. I know it's long, but for the businesses that I'm approaching, this is kind of what I'm going to be doing with this event. I've already done a couple at a restaurant and a bar, but this is a way to go after large apartment complexes and entice them to come out and really try to help and try to inspire people to get involved in music, learn music, and so that they can get a deeper, more complex understanding of the world, the scientific mind, but also get that creative spirit and be able to look at things from different perspectives, and hopefully just become more social, become more positive, and realize that we don't have to be confined to a small little box, but with music and piano, and you can definitely develop areas of the brain that's going to allow you to grow and become a lot more creative and scientific. So thanks for watching, and hopefully you'll catch my other videos on the promotion of the events. Thank you.